Welcome to the Raising Confident Girls podcast, your guide to raising strong, confident daughters. I'm Melissa Jones, the founder of Girls Positivity Club and a teacher for over 20 years. In a world where girls often feel overwhelmed, anxious, and confused, this podcast is your go-to space. As caregivers, we navigate challenges together. I founded Girls Positivity Club to provide a place where you belong and get the tools to face today's hurdles. Consider this your regular check-in with a trusted friend, offering insights and practical tips for meaningful conversations. I'm here to help you feel confident on this journey of raising a generation of empowered girls. Let's dive in and raise those confident girls together. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Raising Confident Girls. I am Melissa Jones, your host, and I'm so happy you're here today, whether you've been here one time or with me for a while. I'm so glad that you're here. And today we are talking about something that I see all the time, not just in Girls Positivity Club, but in schools and homes and in communities everywhere. And that is that moment when your daughter or the girls in your life look around and think, I just don't fit here. It can happen at recess. It can happen at lunch, especially when there are assigned seats. It can happen in clubs, at birthday parties, on teams, and honestly, even with siblings. And here's the big thing that I want you to hear, and that is feeling out of place can hurt just as much as feeling left out, sometimes more. And as parents, it's heartbreaking to watch. So today I'm sharing with you 3 tools to help your daughter find her place, reconnect with who she is, and take small steps toward people who appreciate her. Before we get too deep into the episode, I want to remind you that the very best compliment that you can give is to share this episode with another parent or caregiver of a girl who you think it could help, because that's what I'm always trying to do, is to add value to your life. And I always want you to just be able to take away at least one thing from each episode that you can use with the girls in your lives. So I hope that you're able to do that. And if you know that this could help someone else, I would love it if you would pass us along to them. So I want to tell you a story about a girl who had an out of place moment. So a few weeks ago, one of my girls in Girls Positivity Club, when we started our circle of yays, which is the part where we go around the circle and each girl shares one good thing from her day or her week, we call it yays. We're all sitting there and we each share. And one of the girls who is new to the group, she's very sweet, she's very thoughtful, she's sensitive in a good way. And I could tell she was feeling nervous right before it was her turn. And when it came to her turn, she froze. And all the girls were looking at her and waiting. And she was kind of tugging on her shirt sleeves and she was kind of looking around the room. And she finally whispered, I don't really have anything. And what we always do in Girls Positivity Club, because this can happen sometimes, even if a girl just is nervous, or sometimes you just can't think of something, even though you know good things have happened, it just feels overwhelming, is we say, oh, you can say this. And we give them like a statement that they can say that feels safe and true for them. And so the other girls automatically who've been in Girls Positivity Club before, were like, oh, you can just say, I'm happy to be here, or you can say this, or you can say that. And so they gave her something that she could say, but her cheeks turned red and I could tell that she was a little bit embarrassed. And I just made a mental note to check in with her later. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to go check in, make sure that she's good, and that, like, just assure her that those things happen to everybody. But you could see, like, even when the other girls were encouraging her and telling her what she could say, not in a rude way, but just in a helpful way, it felt a little bit overwhelming. And like I said, her cheeks got a little bit rosy. And she said, everyone else, and I think she was thinking, like, she didn't say this, I think she was thinking, everyone else probably knew what to say. Or why am I the only one who doesn't? Or I feel different. And she wasn't actually left out because it was a very inclusive environment. Like, that's something we pride ourselves on in Girls Positivity Club. But she still felt out of place because she didn't know exactly what she was going to say. And so for our girls, that feeling lands just as deeply as maybe feeling a little bit left out. And so that moment reminded me of something important. And that is when a girl feels out of place, she instantly thinks it means something about her worth, her personality, her likability, which brings us to our first tool, which is to separate that moment from her identity. So when she feels out of place, she will often jump straight to something must be wrong with me. And, what our jobs are with girls, I believe, is to separate gently what happened from who she is. So this girl in particular, like, she is new to the group, and she had a moment where she didn't know what to say. I mean, we've all had that, right? Like, think in your life about a time where maybe you thought you knew what you were going to say, and then it came your turn and you just blanked, or you didn't know what to say. Like, everybody else seemed to know exactly what to say, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's going to be my turn soon and I don't know. And so it's helping her separate that moment from who she is, which is saying something like, that was just a moment and it's not everything about you. Or you're still kind, you still have great ideas, you're still fun, you're still people, people still want to be around you. You can say one uncomfortable moment or one moment where you feel embarrassed doesn't have to change your whole day. Like, it's just a moment. It doesn't have to change your whole day. It doesn't have to change, whatever. And so that's something that I think is really important. Even if we're having a hard day or our girls are having a hard day, it's like, that was one moment. It doesn't have to be the cloud over the whole day. And so what we're doing then instead is we're giving them proof. So it's like, remember last week when you helped me in the kitchen? Or remember last week when you were so kind to your brother? Or remember, last week when you blah, blah, blah? Or remember yesterday, remember earlier today? That is still who you are. That caring girl is still who you are. That helpful girl is still who you are. That fill in the blank girl is still who you are. So it's reminding her of the proof that even though she had a moment, she's still caring. She's still helpful. She's still fill in the blank. And so it's even reminding them that other people want to be around them. Remember in the neighborhood when you had all the girls over to play? Remember when we went to Aunt Susie's house and your cousin wanted to be with you the whole time? Remember how, this happened? That tells that people want to be around you. And so evidence is incredibly grounding for girls, especially during self-doubt spirals. And we call it Girls Positivity Club. Like, sometimes it can feel like a tornado inside of us. And so it's really just showing her that proof of who she is and that evidence, and that whatever this moment was, whether it was a circle of yays where you blanked, or whether it was this other moment when you said the wrong thing, or whatever the case would be, it's just a moment in time, and it doesn't have to be all of who you are. And then, coming back to the story of the girl, here's the part that I really want you to hear. 2 days later, when I saw her doing another activity with a girl in our summer camp, because these are consecutive days that I got to see these girls. And I've really been thinking about that a lot, like how amazing that is, that I can see growth in girls like over several days in a row. During an art activity, the same girl did something huge. So all of our activities that we do in our camps and clubs are very intentional. And so there's always like a tie-in with something that they're doing. So they're never just doing an activity for no reason. And so there's oftentimes some discussion about whatever topic it is. And she raised her hand first, not last, not reluctantly, but she actually raised her hand. And it wasn't her telling a big speech to the group. It was just a small thought about the colors that she picked. Because, like I said, it's always intentional, and even down to the colors, like, oh, well, tell us why you picked your colors. That felt safe to her in that moment, that she could raise her hand and she could tell about why she picked those colors. And so that is building that muscle for her of feeling more comfortable about talking in the environment that she was in. And the other girls around her nodded like, oh yeah, I like that. Like, that's a great idea. And I watched it happen. And then, all of a sudden it was like this tiny spark of on her face that I noticed was like, oh, maybe I do fit here. And that shift didn't come from a big confidence talk, even though, yes, of course, I did check in with her later. But, it came from one moment where she felt seen and she felt safe in sharing about colors. And then that's going to build onto her confidence of sharing in the circle of yays, which is how we start all of our clubs and camps. And so that's what your daughter needs too, is small wins, small steps, a safe place to be herself. And even if it's practicing building that muscle of an easier question to answer that can help her feel that confidence in that area, these moments change everything. And the second thing you can do is help her to identify her people. So sometimes she's not out of place, she's just in the wrong crowd. So, like I said in the beginning, not every crowd is for every person. So, meaning, like, I don't think that you're meant to fit into every group, into every certain thing. And so, of course, in Girls Positivity Club, we want girls to feel like they belong no matter what. But there are going to be rooms that she's in, and there are going to be situations that she's in where she's like, these aren't really my people. This isn't really the crowd that I normally hang out in. Now, I will also say that sometimes those rooms can change, and those people that you're around can be like, oh, I have more in common than I thought I did with them. So sometimes we can be wrong about that, but sometimes, though, you're just in the wrong crowd. Let's say that she isn't really into basketball, and for whatever reason, she's in a different group where a lot of the girls play basketball. Now, that doesn't mean that she can't connect with them in some ways, but it's helping her find connections that identify her people. And so it's noticing, like, not only what their interests are, but like who makes her feel lighter, who makes her feel comfortable, who makes her feel like she's listened to when she talks, who seems calm and kind, who likes similar things. And one misconception that I think some girls have is that they have to have everything in common with their friends. And that's actually not true. She could be friends with a basketball girl, and maybe she doesn't play basketball, but maybe they have other interests. And so you don't have to have every single thing in common in order for them to be your people, or you don't have to dismiss every group just because it feels a little different. But there are certain things that you can ask yourself, and she can ask herself, that will help her find the right people that she wants to be around. And so when she's younger, you can say things like, who did you laugh with today? Or who did you feel comfy being yourself with today? And so it's very simple questions like that. And again, it doesn't mean that you're always going to feel, the same way around people, but it's just asking, like, who do you feel good around, basically? And then as she's getting a little bit older in that middle school age, it's like, well, who feels easy to talk to? Or who notices when you're quiet? Or who feels just good being around them? Like, who just has a great energy, like they feel positive, they feel inclusive, they feel whatever. And so those are probably the people that you want to spend time with. And then as they're getting older and 14 and up, you can say, who supports your goals, or who shows up for you all the time or most of the time. And again, any of these things can be asked at any age. It's just asking it in a relatable way to where they are in their growing up. And so, she doesn't need everyone. She just needs a few of the right people. And so it's really helping her by having her try a new club or having her try a new activity. And even if she shows up one or two times, and even if it's not feeling comfortable in that moment, and granted, obviously I mean, like, if it's a safe environment, things like that. But like, if she keeps showing up, she might find something in common with those people, or she might just find out, like, nope, they're not my people. Like, I tried. And it doesn't mean that, like, she tries something and she just sits by herself and ignores everybody. It's like she's making an active effort to try and get to know these people. And it's okay if it still doesn't click. And there are going to be people that you click with and some that you don't, and that's okay. And that's actually good. And that's actually normal. And she is trying to figure out who her people are, and also that she can have different groups of people. So I know a lot of girls that have friends at school, and then they have a different friend group outside of school that maybe lives in her neighborhood or plays on her sports team or does a hobby that she likes, or is in a club that she goes to. And so we can have different categories of people that are totally different. And it's all about just figuring out what environments you feel best in and where you feel like you can be yourself and where you feel appreciated. And it doesn't mean that it has to be a perfect situation and like there's never any conflict or there's never things that go wrong, because that's really not realistic. Like there's going to be a time when there's some kind of a disagreement or something else, but more times than not, you feel good around these people, and those are her people. The third thing is creating small moments of belonging. So you can help her create connection in manageable ways. So it doesn't have to be this big thing where she goes to this big activity. It can be that she asks someone to sit beside her doing an activity. It can be that she invites one girl to draw or color with her if she's younger. It can be that she invites someone to play a simple game with her at recess. So those are some examples that are normal things that younger girls can do. That's a small way to reach out and find those moments of belonging. And at middle school, it's like saying to a girl, "Hey, how was your day?" Or texting it to one person who feels safe. Maybe it's sitting with a familiar face, even if it's not her closest friend. Maybe it's joining a club where she knows one person, and that can feel like it's pushing her out of her comfort zone a little bit, which is good. But also there's a comfort in knowing that she has one friend there that she already knows. As she's getting older into her teens, it could be inviting someone to study together or to do something over the weekend together. Maybe it's asking someone in class about an assignment. Maybe it's sitting together before a practice. So if the weekend part feels too big, like if you're like, "Ooh, inviting someone to the weekend, that seems bigger," then back it up, and maybe it's inviting someone to walk home together or to just do something a little bit that feels safer. Like, I know one girl who at their school, because she's in high school, they're allowed to go outside after they finish eating lunch. So maybe it's going for a walk outside, because that's how their campus is. They're allowed to do that. And so just thinking about what would be kind of a smaller invite that she could do before a big one. And these are not big, like putting yourself out there leaps. So like for some girls, asking to do something on the weekend would be a bigger leap. For others, maybe it wouldn't. Maybe it would be an after school hangout or something like that. But they're really small, doable moments that can help rebuild her sense of belonging. And so if your daughter has been feeling out of place, here's what I want you to remember. Girls find belonging through moments, not through magically finding a perfect friend group. You can help her separate the moment from who she is, notice the people who feel good to be around, and take small steps toward connection. And just like the girl in Girls Positivity Club, one safe moment can change everything. You're doing better than you think. She's doing better than she thinks, and she is not alone. Thank you for listening today. And if this episode helped, please share it with another parent or caregiver who might need it too. You're doing amazing, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining another empowering episode of the Raising Confident Girls podcast. Share today's insights with caregivers and friends, building beautiful relationships with strong girls. Hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. We're not just a podcast, we're a community. Follow Girls Positivity Club on social media for more empowering content on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. This podcast empowers you, supporting incredible girls. Let's create strong, beautiful relationships with the girls in our lives. I appreciate you listening today. Stay confident, stay connected. Until next time, keep raising those confident girls. You've got this.